All right, let's dive into Brazil today. We're
Mhm.
looking at this really fascinating introduction to Brazil.
Yeah.
And I was so surprised to learn that Brazil, it's not just the biggest country in South America.
Right.
It's almost half of the whole continent.
Yeah, it's true. And it borders, what's interesting? It borders almost every other country in South America,
Wow.
except for Chile and Ecuador. So when you think about it, that's a lot of shared borders
Yeah.
and a lot of cultural exchange going on there.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of culture, did you know that Brazil is the only South American country where Portuguese is the main language?
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. Like the
Yeah.
whole continent and just one Portuguese-speaking nation.
Right.
It's also got the longest coastline in South America, over 7,000 kilometers.
Oh.
That's longer than the entire west coast of the U.S.
Yeah, that coastline really shapes Brazil's identity. It contributes to that beach culture, obviously,
Right.
but it also really impacts their economy.
Right.
Things like fishing and trade, and then you've got all that biodiversity, all those ecosystems
Yeah.
thriving along the shores and on islands.
Like Fernando de Noronha.
Exactly. The only archipelago inhabited by civilians.
With all that coastline, I have to ask, is surfing big in Brazil?
Oh, huge. You
Yeah.
bet. Brazil's got some world champion surfers.
Wow.
The country is a surfing hotspot. And it's not just beaches.
Right.
The vastness of Brazil means that there's this crazy range of ecosystems inland, too.
Oh, wow.
So you've got the Amazon rainforest.
Of course.
You've got coastal plains, plateaus, you name it.
It makes you realize there's so much more to Brazil than just beaches and carnival.
Oh, absolutely. Way more.
Yeah.
And all that diversity extends to its history as well.
Okay.
The story starts back in 1500 with the official discovery by Portuguese explorer Pedro Álvares Cabral.
Right.
Now, there's some debate about whether a Spanish explorer, Vicente Yáñez Pinzón,
Okay.
might have landed there first just a few months earlier. But 1500 is the date that's stuck, the official one.
Oh, yeah. And of course, we have to remember that Brazil was already home to so many indigenous peoples
Absolutely.
long before Europeans arrived.
For sure. And sadly, their cultures were really disrupted by colonization.
Yeah.
The Portuguese, they claimed Brazil as their own, and it was all thanks to the Treaty of Tordesillas,
Right.
which basically just carved up the new world between Spain and Portugal.
Kind of a land grab.
Yeah, you could say that.
So how did Brazil finally break free from Portugal?
Well, a few centuries later, Napoleon's forces, they invaded Portugal.
Wow.
And the Portuguese royal court had to relocate
Uh-huh.
to Rio de Janeiro in 1808.
That's wild. Imagine a whole royal court like uprooting and
Yeah.
moving across the Atlantic.
It was a wild time.
Wow.
And that relocation, it really impacted Brazil's development.
Really?
Yeah. In 1815, Brazil was elevated to a kingdom,
Okay.
united with Portugal, no longer a colony.
Wow.
And then in 1822, Brazil declared independence, with Dom Pedro I, the son of the Portuguese king, as their emperor.
Hold on, Emperor.
Yeah.
I thought Brazil became a republic right after independence.
It did, but not right away.
Okay.
It was a monarchy for quite a while after becoming independent.
Oh, okay.
The transition to a republic happened in 1889,
Mm-hmm.
but even then, it's been a mix of democratic governance and then periods of authoritarian rule.
So with that kind of history, how does that influence where Brazil is in the world today?
Well, it's a great question. Today, Brazil is recognized as a regional power
Okay.
and a middle power with growing influence on the world stage.
Okay.
Some analysts even think it has the potential to become like a superpower.
A superpower, really. Wow. What makes people think that?
Well, for one thing, Brazil has the 9th largest economy in the world by nominal GDP
Right.
and 8th largest by purchasing power parity. Which,
Yeah, you have to admit, I'm not an economist.
Sure.
What do those terms actually mean for everyday Brazilians?
Good question. Nominal GDP is basically the total value of all the goods and services produced in a country,
Right.
measured at current prices.
Okay.
Purchasing power parity, or PPP, takes into account things like cost of living and inflation
Mm-hmm.
to give a more accurate picture of how strong a country's economy is compared to others.
Okay.
And in both of those categories, Brazil leads Latin America and the whole Southern Hemisphere.
So they're a major economic powerhouse.
Yeah.
What are some of the key industries that are driving that economic growth?
Well, Brazil plays a huge role in global food production.
Mhm.
It's been the world's leading coffee producer for over 150 years.
Wow. For a century and a half, Brazil's been keeping the world caffeinated.
Pretty much.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay. Wow, that's impressive.
The World Bank classifies Brazil as an upper-middle income economy
Mm-hmm.
and a newly industrialized country.
Okay.
They have a really diverse economy, strengths in areas like agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and services.
So they have a lot going for them economically.
Yeah,
But we talked earlier about some of the challenges, right?
you're right. Despite its economic potential,
Hmm.
Brazil still has those persistent issues: corruption, crime, and social inequality.
So it's not all sunshine and samba.
Unfortunately not. These challenges are big hurdles for Brazil to overcome to reach its full potential.
Well, this has been an amazing start to our deep dive on Brazil.
Yeah.
It's clear this country is a land of contrasts with huge potential and some serious challenges.
No, sure.
Where do we go from here?
Well, let's get into some specifics. Next, we'll explore how Brazil's complicated history and unique blend of cultures really shows up in everyday life.
Okay, I'm ready.
Let's do it.
So we talked about Brazil's journey from colony to independent nation.
Yeah,
But what I find really fascinating is how that history still shapes its culture today.
it's true.
Like, it's such a mix.
It really is a vibrant tapestry
Yeah.
woven from so many threads: indigenous traditions, European influences, African rhythms. It's a melting pot, in the truest sense.
Yeah. Like, when you think of Brazilian food,
Uh-huh.
I immediately think of feijoada,
Oh, yeah.
that hearty black bean stew.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems to capture the soul of the country.
Absolutely. It's a perfect example of how, culinary traditions reflect Brazil's heritage.
Right.
I mean, feijoada has roots in indigenous and African cultures.
Wow.
The beans themselves were a staple of the indigenous diet way before Europeans arrived. And then that slow cooking method.
Right.
That's a technique from Africa.
So it's a dish that tells a story.
It is a delicious story.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got dishes like moqueca,
Oh, yeah.
that seafood stew cooked in coconut milk,
Mm-hmm.
a coastal specialty.
Yeah, a testament to indigenous culinary ingenuity.
It's amazing how food can transport you,
It really is. It's like a taste of history.
Yeah, it's like a time machine.
Speaking of transporting experiences, we can't forget music.
Oh, of course.
Brazil's musical landscape is as diverse and vibrant as its culture.
Oh, absolutely. Like the energy of samba.
Yeah.
It's infectious.
It is.
And bossa nova, so cool,
Yeah.
sophisticated.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine Brazilian culture without them.
It really is. And their origins are just as fascinating.
Okay.
Samba, emerged from those Afro-Brazilian communities in
Yeah,
Rio,
right.
fusing African rhythms with European musical influences.
Wow.
And then bossa nova,
Yeah.
that came about in the 1950s,
Okay.
blending those samba rhythms with jazz harmonies,
Interesting.
created a sound that really, took the world by storm.
When I think of bossa nova,
Yeah.
I just picture like the waves crashing on Ipanema Beach.
Right.
It's the perfect soundtrack for a sunset stroll.
It evokes a sense of romance and nostalgia, even if you've never been to Brazil.
Totally.
But beyond the beaches and the music,
Mm-hmm.
there's another side of Brazil that we got to talk about.
Okay.
The Amazon rainforest.
It's more than just a jungle, right?
Oh, way more. It's a symbol of Brazil,
Yeah.
a vital part of the planet's ecosystem.
You could say it's the lungs of the earth.
Exactly. It regulates the global climate, absorbs carbon dioxide,
Yeah.
and it's just a treasure trove of biodiversity,
Yeah.
home to something like 10% of the world's known species.
It's mind-boggling when you think about how many plants and animals are in the Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
Like tens of thousands of plant species, over 1,300 bird species.
Yeah.
And then like all the mammals, the reptiles, amphibians, insects.
It's incredible.
That's
Living laboratory of evolution.
Yeah.
It really shows you the power of nature.
But, the Amazon faces threats too, right?
Right. Sadly, yeah.
Like deforestation from logging, mining, and agriculture.
Absolutely. Deforestation rates have been so high lately.
Yeah.
And climate change is adding to it.
Yeah.
With those increased droughts and rising temperatures.
It's heartbreaking to think about losing this ecosystem.
It is.
What's being done to protect it?
Well, there are a lot of organizations and individuals fighting to conserve the rainforests.
Okay.
And there's definitely more global awareness now,
Mm-hmm.
but the challenges are huge.
Right.
It's going to take governments, businesses, everyone working together to really ensure its survival.
It's a reminder that we all have a responsibility to protect these places.
We do.
Not just for Brazil,
Yeah.
but for the whole planet.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we talked about the cultural influences on Brazil
Mm-hmm.
and the Amazon rainforest.
Yeah.
What other hidden gems are we going to uncover today?
Well, let's talk about something that might surprise some listeners.
Okay.
Brazil's literary tradition.
Oh, intriguing. Tell me more.
Okay, so Brazil has some truly remarkable writers,
Okay.
many of whom have, become internationally known.
Right.
One name that comes to mind is Jorge Amado.
Okay.
He's known for his really vivid and often humorous stories
Mm-hmm.
about life in Bahia.
What kind of themes does his work explore?
Well, his novels often look at love, poverty, social injustice.
That clash between tradition and modernity,
Right.
he really captures the complexities of Brazilian society,
Yeah.
Mixing realism, social commentary, and a touch of magic realism.
Wow, his work sounds fascinating.
It is.
Are there other notable Brazilian authors?
Oh, for sure. Another big one is Machado de Assis.
Okay.
He's considered one of the greatest novelists ever.
Wow.
His masterpiece is the posthumous memoirs of Brás Cubas.
Okay.
It's this darkly comic novel narrated by a dead man.
Wow. Narrated by a dead man.
Yeah.
That's a unique approach.
It is. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
A satire and philosophical reflection on life, death, and 19th century Brazilian society.
Huh.
Challenges literary conventions,
Right.
offers some really thought-provoking commentary on the human condition.
Wow.
And then you've got Clarice Lispector,
Okay.
Ukrainian-born but a Brazilian writer,
Mm-hmm.
known for her introspective and experimental style.
Okay.
Her stories and novels really dive deep into human consciousness, exploring themes of identity, alienation, the search for meaning.
These authors sound so diverse in their styles and themes.
They are.
It really speaks to the depth of Brazilian literature.
Yeah. And there's a whole world of contemporary Brazilian authors out there waiting to be discovered,
Right.
each with their own unique perspective on the country and its people.
You've definitely inspired me to add some Brazilian literature to my reading list.
Oh, you won't be disappointed.
All right, so we've gone from the Amazon to the streets of Rio,
Uh-huh.
and now we're exploring the literary landscape.
We are.
What else is in store for us on this deep dive?
Well, let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about something that might surprise people.
Okay.
Brazil's relationship with science and technology.
Oh, this sounds interesting. I have to admit, I don't know much about Brazil's contributions to science and technology.
Yeah, it's an area that often gets overlooked.
Right.
But Brazil has actually made some really impressive strides in various scientific and technological fields, even with those economic and social challenges we talked about.
Let's give me some examples.
All right, well, one area where Brazil really excels is aerospace technology.
Okay.
They have a thriving space program.
Wait, they have a space program?
They do.
I had no idea.
Yeah, they've been launching satellites since the 1980s.
Wow.
And they've been involved in international collaborations like with NASA.
Wow.
And in 2006, Brazilian astronaut Marcos Pontes became the first Brazilian in space.
Wow. So they're not just launching satellites,
No,
they're sending people into space. That's incredible.
it is.
What else have they accomplished?
Well, it's not just aerospace.
Right.
They've also made big contributions in agricultural research,
Okay.
like developing drought-resistant crops.
That makes sense, being such a big food producer.
Exactly.
What about advancements in medicine?
Well, Brazil's got a strong track record in medical research and innovations.
Mhm.
They've made strides in areas like infectious disease control, particularly in fighting diseases like dengue fever and Zika virus.
Right. Those are prevalent in tropical regions.
Exactly.
Sounds like they're tackling some really important health challenges.
They are.
Are there any other fields where Brazil is making its mark?
Well, they've also been investing a lot in renewable energy,
Okay.
especially biofuels like ethanol, which they produce from sugarcane.
Wow.
Brazil is actually one of the world's leading producers of ethanol.
That's impressive, especially with the global push for sustainable energy.
It is.
So it seems like Brazil is really punching above its weight in science and technology.
Yeah, I think so. It's a story that deserves more attention.
You've definitely opened my eyes to a side of Brazil I didn't know.
Yeah.
It's inspiring to see them pushing boundaries and making their mark on the global scientific community.
It's a testament to their commitment to innovation and progress,
Yeah.
despite the challenges.
So we've explored Brazil's culture, its landscapes, its literary tradition, and its scientific achievements.
Yeah,
And believe it or not, we're only halfway through our deep dive.
there's still so much more to uncover.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
What else is in store for us on this Brazilian adventure?
Well, Next, we'll delve into some of the more complex aspects of Brazilian society, like their political landscape and economic prospects,
Mhm.
and we'll explore some of the challenges they face in the 21st century.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already, from vibrant culture and amazing landscapes
Yeah,
to impressive scientific achievements.
it's been a journey.
But every nation has, more to the story.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
What else is there to uncover?
Well, now we're getting into some of the more complex
Great.
and often challenging parts of Brazilian society.
When we talked about Brazil's economic potential before,
Uh-huh.
you mentioned they're considered an upper middle income economy.
Right.
But you also brought up those persistent issues like corruption, crime, and social inequality.
Yeah.
How do those two realities coexist?
It's a tension you see a lot in developing countries. Brazil has this incredible economic engine,
Yeah.
a growing middle class, a strong global presence,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also got those deep-rooted issues holding it back.
So it's not as simple as just looking at GDP numbers.
Exactly.
What's something specific that comes to mind?
Well, one of the most striking things about Brazil is the vast economic disparity,
Yeah.
You have favelas, those impoverished communities, often right next to wealthy neighborhoods.
Right, those contrasting images you see in photos.
Exactly. It's like favelas on the outskirts of major cities
Yeah.
existing side by side with high-rise apartments and fancy shopping malls.
A stark reminder that economic growth doesn't always reach everyone.
It doesn't.
Can you describe what life is like in a favela?
Life in a favela is incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
I mean, these communities often lack basic services,
Like what?
like sanitation, reliable access to clean water.
Right.
Crime rates are higher, and opportunities, whether it's education or employment, they can be scarce.
But I imagine there's also a strong sense of community in those places.
Oh, absolutely. Amidst the hardship, there's incredible community and resilience.
Yeah.
People support each other.
Right.
They create these vibrant cultural hubs within these tough environments.
Sounds like a complex situation with no easy answers.
It really is.
And this inequality, is it connected to issues of race and class as well?
Often, yes. Brazil's history of racial discrimination
Hmm.
from its colonial past and the legacy of slavery,
Yeah.
those still impact Brazilian society today.
How do we see that playing out in present-day Brazil?
Well, you see it in disparities in income, education, and healthcare. Afro-Brazilians are more likely to be among the poor,
Right.
less likely to have access to quality education and healthcare.
So it's systemic.
It is. It's a systemic issue that needs a multi-pronged approach to really address it.
More than just economic policies.
Way more. It's about tackling those underlying social and racial inequalities.
Yeah.
The things that keep perpetuating poverty and limiting opportunities.
It's about creating a society that's truly just and equitable for everyone.
Exactly.
And what about Brazil's political landscape? How does that play into all of this?
Well, Brazil has a history of political instability,
Right.
swinging between democracy and authoritarian rule.
Yeah.
In recent years, there's been this rise in political polarization,
Right.
which makes addressing these complex issues even harder.
It sounds like a tricky situation for leaders to navigate.
It can be.
Huh.
And then you've got the issue of corruption.
Right. We talked about that a bit before.
Yeah, it further complicates things. There have been a lot of high-profile corruption scandals involving politicians and business leaders.
That must erode public trust.
It does. It erodes trust in the government and makes progress much slower.
A reminder that even in a democracy, there are always challenges.
For sure.
And it takes active citizens to hold leaders accountable,
It does.
to make sure the system is actually serving the people.
Absolutely.
But despite all these challenges, there is also a sense of hope and resilience in Brazil, right?
Oh, definitely.
Brazilians are known for their warmth, their love of life,
Yeah.
their ability to find joy even when things are tough.
It's part of the Brazilian spirit.
I love that.
It's that spirit, I think,
Mhm.
along with that growing awareness of the challenges
All right.
and a commitment to actually addressing them.
Yeah.
Those are the things that give me hope for the future.
It seems like Brazil's story is far from over.
It is. There's so much potential, but also a lot of work ahead.
Brazil is at this crossroads.
Yeah, grappling with its past and trying to create a better future.
So we've come to the end of our deep dive into Brazil.
We have.
We've explored its culture, its landscapes, its history, its achievements, and its challenges.
It's been quite a journey.
To our listeners, we hope you've gained a new understanding of this incredible country.
That's our goal.
A country that's both enchanting and challenging, full of contradictions.
It is.
We always say, the more you explore the more you realize there's always more to learn.
Always, always.
So keep asking questions, keep seeking new perspectives,
Keep learning.
and keep diving deep into the world around you.